bikes easier to ride, riders can hang off the bikes even more due to less worry about needing to catch the bike if it suddenly loses traction. They can get their body nice and low to the ground, then pick the bike up and accelerate hard while still leaning off, allowing the torque delivery maps to work their magic. So we've gone through the tyres and the electronics, but along these comes improvements in the bike's frames. You'd be staggered at how much frame design and frame flex can help or hurt a rider's ability to corner. So what do I actually mean by this? Well, teams want good longitudinal stiffness, which is from the front to the back of the bike. They need this for a couple of reasons. One of them is that the bike needs to be reactive to the rider's inputs, and it needs to react fast, but also needs to be stable under heavy braking. MotoGP riders pull over 1G under braking, so being stable on the brakes is key to achieving lap times. But more importantly, when the bike is leant over into a corner, teams want the chassis to flex laterally, which is from side to side. But surely any flex is bad? Well, let me explain. The suspension of a MotoGP bike, which is the front forks and the rear shock absorbers, work at their best when they're upright. They don't work all that well anywhere past 45 degrees. And we know from earlier that these bikes can go well past 60 degrees of total lean angle. And when the bike's leant over, there's force being applied from side to side, not just up and down. And because of this, the suspension travel is reduced. By having a tiny bit of flex side to side, it allows the bikes to ride the bumps better. And it takes up a little bit more of the slack that the suspension can't do at that lean angle. With these frame advancements, not only with the design, but the materials as well, riders can hang off the bike and corner harder and more aggressively because the bike is more predictable. Speaking of design, it's not just the frame that can help the riders corner better. Take a look at these pictures of the latest MotoGP bikes. Do you notice anything in common? Take a closer look at the bike's fuel tanks. You might notice that all of them have a lip or ridge at the top of the tank. Now this doesn't really make sense when the bike is stationary, but take a look at a modern MotoGP bike when it's leant over. More specifically, look at the rider's outside leg. 99% of the time, it's hooked into the tank using that lip. This gives riders better stability and a firmer platform to hug into. If they didn't have this lip here, it would be a lot harder for them to hang off the bike as much as they do now. So the bike is obviously a crucial part of allowing riders to corner so aggressively without falling off at every corner. But we've not mentioned another really important part, and that's the riders themselves. Every rider on the MotoGP grid is training harder than ever. Remember, the bikes themselves have been closer than ever before, so they need to extract performance gains any way they can. Riders train insanely hard, and they train every way you can imagine. They practice on things like mini bikes, dirt track ovals, motocross, supermoto, and a whole host of other disciplines. Now you may be asking how these help at all when they're worlds apart from MotoGP, and it's a valid question to ask. The reason they train in all of these different disciplines is because they take something from every single one of them and use it and apply it to their own riding style in MotoGP. The more knowledge they can extract from these other disciplines, the more they'll be able to apply it to their own riding style. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, there is a limit to the amount of lean angle that a rider can generate. Unfortunately, when the rider goes past the limit, it involves a crash. There's two types of crashes, a high side and a low side. A high side is less to do with the rider's lean angle. A low side, on the other hand, can be directly caused by leaning too much into a corner. When a tyre runs out of grip, the bike falls to the inside of the corner and slides out from underneath the rider. Out of the two, this is the one you'd want to have. If you're interested in learning about how MotoGP riders corner, then click on this video here where I explain why riders turn left to go right. A little strange, I know, but it's an incredibly important technique. You need to go and check that out. Thanks for watching. Take care. Stay.
Have you heard about this strange 10